So I want to thank the organizers for suggesting I come up and talk to you all about bridge training opportunities. And what I decided to do is I decided to do a little bit of a deep dive into what Pete mentioned about NHI training and what's available out there, and those low cost training opportunities that he talked about, and they are $50 or $25 a computer. But what that means is you can hook it up in your conference room, and you can run it for your crews on a rainy day, or when you want to bring them in to do something, you could put something in there for an hour, because most of these courses are fairly short, but they do hit to the core of what you all are doing, both the folks in this room and your crews. The first one I want to talk about is the Bridge Preservation Fundamentals training. It's a three courses. The first course is basically Bridge Preservation Fundamentals. And it talks about, proactive maintenance, cyclical maintenance, condition-based maintenance. It talks about the benefits of timely maintenance. And then it goes into speaking to each of the activities from the deck, concrete, superstructure, what types of superstructures there are, and what are the types of bridge preservation activities that you might be engaged in. Similarly with superstructures and culverts. Next up is something that's maybe more for the folks in this room, is how do you establish your bridge preservation program? This is really talks about goals, objectives, performance measures. A lot of what you heard yesterday is there's a little bit of a deep dive on that. This course is 4 hours. I should have said the previous course was 4 hours as well. So, you're talking about half a day for your maintenance crews for the first one, and then, if you and your, maybe your crew supervisors, or maybe people that are across your trying to gain some acceptance within the organization on different maintenance needs, might be a good way to put this on. It talks about needs assessments, and it's all about data management, largely using the NIBIS data, the National Bridge Inspection data. There's a session on budget and resourcing, work plan development, what those activities would be. And then, in this session too, you learn about monitoring. Okay, so as Pete mentioned a little bit, you need to know, are the actions you're taking, are they making measurable progress? And it's especially needed because, as many of you know, as you try and engage your federal highway partners in this, they'll give you the money, but you got to be able to monitor and show that it's working. So that's part 2 of the bridge preservation training. And then the third one is basically communication strategies for selling bridge preservation. The folks in this room, you all get it, as well as, in the other partnerships, but there's a lot of people in your organization that might not. And so this is a very good 3-hour course that talks about how do you go about doing that. Who are your stakeholders? How do you engage your stakeholders? Who are the champions within your organization? And how do you get them all singing from the same sheet of music? What is that message? How do you design the message? What's the most effective message that you could say? And how do you communicate that? And then evaluate the effectiveness of those measures. So that's one of the courses. Another course, and Pete mentioned this, is the plan reading course. There's actually 8 of these courses. Each one of them is $25 per participant. But again, it's really per hookup. So you could have this for your crew in a break room, and it would be $25 for you to run at one time. This is about an hour and a half. I picked up a couple, that are really to this group here is bridge plans and culvert plans, so that your crew, when they're out there, they understand, where the rebar is going to be when they're doing that bridge sheet repair. Where is it and why is it there and what they should be looking for. Another course is this Bridge Management Fundamentals. Again, this could be for you, it could be for your crew supervisors, so they understand, perhaps why you're doing what you're doing, why you're asking them what you're asking them for. This is a 4-hour course. It explains the needs and benefits of a bridge management system. We've all seen this graph before in terms of when you want to take your actions. It talks about, kind of hits upon that same idea of cyclical maintenance, when you should be doing what and how that needs to be done. It also teaches you the folks to understand how a bridge management system can impact, the DOT's business model, right? Like where does this fit in the bigger system? And that's the second part of this is this performance-based management of highway bridges. This is really it builds upon what you would learn in that other course. And this course is approximately 4 hours. Again, it's only $50 for per participant. And this one they talk about tracking, identifying cost benefits of bridge preservation. Explains why worst first is really not the way to go. It's not about oh, this is the worst deck, so let's fix it. No, let's preserve that bridge deck before it becomes so bad that it needs to be replaced, or you need to do a hydro demolition and then rebuild. So that's the type of thing that you learn about in this. You talk about identifying work candidates. How do you build your program? So those are all things that are in this program. Next up is, and this goes to what we heard from Paul Pilarski yesterday. This is about the FRP, and again, Pete mentioned that. It's something that certainly I didn't have in classes when I was in college, but this is something that I know a lot of states are doing. I know in New Jersey we're doing it. This is something I picked up just to show this column, and I really probably could have taken the slides from Paul, but I know in New Jersey we have a lot of these columns along the interstate where the salt spray has hit them, and they look exactly like this. And we go out and do this type of repair. These courses, they talk about, the versatility and what this repair does compared to a standard repair that we used to do, what the benefits are. Then there's 3 courses here, right? So the second course really is all about the specifications, the storage, the handling, the procedures, kind of what Pete was talking about in terms of so you understand how this stuff has got to be handled in order to get the effective repair made. And then the final one is really all about the QA, QC that you have to have in place while they're doing the work. So this is another course that's out there that, really when you're looking for things to do, this might be, something that really would benefit you to learn a little bit more about that. Next up is, these are the ones that Pete talked about also. These are the prerequisites to the 2-week-long bridge inspection course. And I think, the benefit for y'all is for your crews and for you, this is dirt cheap. It's free. But what it is really is it talks about, it introduces your maintenance folks to the different components. Now, that's not to say that they don't know about it, but it's always good to, as we get new employees, to kind of teach them about, what are those bridge components? What is some of the stuff about bridge mechanics in terms of, fracture critical and why some of these bridge elements are, you're looking at them and you need to, which ones do you need to kind of handle with kids' gloves and which ones can you handle with brute force? This is it's only about a 1 hour, it's about a 7-hour course, so it's actually very good. Now, you could say, well, my guys, we're pretty into this. We know this stuff already. So then what might be good, though, in terms of just, because everybody needs to think about developing their employees, think about maybe just giving them the second course here, the 130101A. That's basically how you can, if you can phase out, if you will, of having the 13101. So basically, if your folks know this stuff and you've been around it, you want to take them through the accelerated course, which is that 13101A, which is basically a 1-hour course. Next up, there is a Fundamentals of Bridge Maintenance course out there that's web-based. It's 7 hours, and there are 6 modules. So, and this really kind of builds upon a lot of the other things that I talked about earlier. It talks about, what you need to do for a bridge maintenance program, what's important to do when you're doing bridge maintenance management. There's a section on the bridge anatomy, which is kind of similar to what they do in the basics for the bridge inspection, talking about the different components. There's talk about the bridge mechanics in there. Again, that talks about fracture critical details, some of the stuff about hydraulics and scour. There's a module on concrete basics, just kind of so that people understand what are the basics about concrete. And then there's also some stuff about ancillary structures. And it's not really ancillary structures from, it's noise walls or retaining walls or things like that. It's actually ancillary structures that are often attached to your bridge. Utilities, signs, lighting, bolsters, those types of things are the things that are in there. And then the last course that I chose to share with y'all are these 2 courses on Scour. The first one is a talk about the Scour plan of action, which is required for all your Scour critical bridges. It's a 1-hour course. What I did here was I clipped something that we did at New Jersey, our plan of action, and basically that's what this is all about. It talks about, who, what, and where you have to do to develop a Scour plan of action for bridge owners. And then the other one that's in here is the Scour of highway bridges, concepts, and definitions. And this is really good because it really can target your crews so they understand the 3 components of Scour. The graphic up here really kind of shows that really well. And I think, this helps you and helps your crews to go out what they need to look at when and before and after a Scour event. In terms of if you're going to have potential scour around a pier and you have a lot of debris in your waterway, well, maybe you want to think about trying to remove that before you have an event that's coming in. I mean, we know when the major storms are coming, part of your plan of action needs to be, we need to look at these scour critical bridges, make sure that the waterway is not impeded in any way. Is it around the pier? Is it around the abutment? What is it that you're looking for here? And so there's a little bit of, basic stream hydraulics in this course. And, they don't necessarily say that this is targeted for bridge maintenance and bridge maintenance crews. But when I looked at it and when I went through this, in preparation for today, I was looking at this and saying, yeah, this is really good. This is really something that would help people so that they really understand what they need to look for. Those are the things, this is, the snapshot of low-cost bridge preservation opportunities that are web-based, that are available to you all for a very reasonable price that you could bring in and share with your crews and share with your leaders, your bridge management, bridge maintenance leaders, and share them in a setting. And I think they would all appreciate you bringing these to them because it would show that you're interested in their development. Those are what's available online at NHI. Then I wanted to hit upon some of the same things that Pete hit upon. There are many, many other bridge training opportunities out there. As we talked about, while you all were doing your bridge measures, performance measures meeting in here, the industry had a session where we talked about, what's going on with us. And one of the things we all talked about in there was every one of the folks across this divide would be more than willing to come to talk to you. They'd be every one of them. As Pete mentioned, there's a logistics problem, and what one of them they talked about was maybe taking a roadshow, making it a week-long thing where they'd go from one county engineer, one facility in like say in New Jersey, it's a small state, but we could have one down at Rowan University, which is in South Jersey, one in Rutgers, which is in Central Jersey, and then one up in NJIT, which is in Newark in northern New Jersey. And while it's a small state, folks in the north aren't going to want to travel to the south. But the vendors would say, well, we'll come and we'll put on 3 trainings, and that makes it worth their while, rather than doing just a one-off. That's a difficult thing. They're willing to do it, but they'd rather do something like that where they could target and get a couple of them together. And so maybe there's some cross-border things that we could do between the states. And that kind of leads to the next one is, and Pete mentioned it, steal from each other. Each state has a lot of a wealth of knowledge. There are pilot applications going on all the time. And if you share that with each other, you can actually have folks come across the border and see and learn from that. There are also plant tours available. I know the folks out here across the way would, absolutely, if you wanted to work that. And I know there's, something at the end of this session where it's not really a plant tour, but it's very similar to that, same concept. And then there's always the ubiquitous YouTube that's out there. And there are some very good YouTube videos that folks have put together on how this stuff works. So, that's a quick overview of web-based training and opportunities that are out there. I'm available for questions. Yeah, and those are all links. Those are actual links that you can go in when you pull up my presentation. You can click on that and get right to that page and do that.
Dick, is there a good summary somewhere that we can refer to of the various training options? I know NHI has a master catalog of training, but right. What would you recommend to us if we wanted to get a good summary of what's out there?
I think you need to, basically what I did was I went to the NHI website and I sorted by bridge. And basically that comes up with all the different bridge training. And there's so many that are out there for designers and different things like that. And so what this is really a sorted down thing. So this would be, what I would suggest is you can look at this. If I didn't hit it here, then I would suggest that you go out there and look at the NHI website for the course catalog and search for that. It's very easy. Thanks very much.
The preceding video was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found at tsp2.org. That's tsp2.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.